Hello, my creative friend. Cheers to you. Today we are going to create a supported spindle. And we're going to do the tabletop little thing as well. This is going to solve an issue for me. Because guess what? A spinning wheel doesn't fit on the back of a motorcycle very well. Who'd have thought? So, anyway, supported spindle is on the agenda. Join me. I'm going to work on remedying an issue I have. You see, I very much enjoy spinning yarn. The challenge I'm facing is we have a group that's clear in Fredericksburg. Well, to me, see, I live in Maryland, and it's in Fredericksburg, Virginia. It's not that far, but what I don't need to do is with the weather being so much nicer as it is have to drive a vehicle there when I own a motorcycle. So, this is what the intent is. I went to Hobby Lobby and found a bunch of parts. Here, let me turn the camera down real quick. Okay, so I went out and found some parts. By the way, just in case you're wondering, why in the world would you pick this stuff? So, my inspiration is a video from Julian Eve. She goes by Evie. And she basically made a DIY supported spindle. Anyway, so I was at the spinning class a couple weeks ago, and one of the teachers gave us a tour of her spindle collection. And apparently, I'm not the only one that's actually collecting these stinking things. Okay, so where we were with this is I just literally had to did this, and then my audio wasn't working. And it is, okay, it's good now. So I had this supported chunk here, okay? And all I did was cut off the bottom end of it because I figured out that I needed some more length to set this up in my seat, because the whole point of this is to be able to sit in a chair with this sitting on the chair surface, and this come up just above the thighs, because you want to be able to sit to where this can sit in your lap and roll, and your thighs are basically holding it, not the hand, but it would be a very awkward shot right now. Anyway, and that way you can spin like that. So I had to, once I figured out, tossed that off, had the full length of the dowel, and drilled with a paddle bit to insert that in. Of course, didn't have exactly the right dimensions, but wood glue is a good filler, apparently. It worked. And this did not have to be perfectly balanced, because it doesn't move. Anyway, so then I figured out what my distance needed to be, and all I did there is just sit this down in the chair, and underneath my thigh I took a marker and figured out what I needed to be here. So I drilled this one out a little bit too. I used one of the little wheels for the base. I needed something to let it sit to where it would kind of keep itself a base. That was it. So now, knowing that the most of the supported spindles out there have some level of a base, I kind of took the thought of what the typical drop spindle, the distance that it might need, and it just so it probably more coincidence than anything, I kind of ended up there. So this is the little knob. That's literally what that is, with a 1/4-inch drill bit drilled through it. And I did have to choose one that the hole was reasonably centered, because apparently it really matters, and I probably was not 100% on that one, because this thing runs kind of like it had a tire when you get mud on the side of it, and it kind of goes ding, ding for a little bit. That's kind of how it runs. But I think there's multiple factors in this. So anyway, and so I just took a 1/4-inch drill bit and drilled through that, as well as the little wheel, another little wheel, the same thing as I had on the supported, and went through that one and just stacked them. And you know what, guys? These aren't glued. The 1/4-inch drill bit gives me enough friction that I literally could take this apart. Now, granted, I would probably break the dowel doing it because the friction is that heavy. But the neat thing is here, one, that it works. And I also figured out that because I literally started with this point being for this side, but I figured out that this wasn't sharp enough. And so I went to the pencil sharpener. But the pencil sharpener is a little, and then I had to dull it a little bit, just a smidge. But what you don't want is too much friction on your surface area, because then it won't, friction causes it to stop, because it's it's really the laws of physics. So this point is literally just a smidgenly worked down pencil sharpener point. And this one, this was the disc sander, and I just spun it on it to the best of my ability to get it right. Figure it's probably going to wear itself down anyway, because I knew that this was too much for my finger to be on a lot. And as it turns out, when you do supported spindle, by the way, I didn't know this at the time, your finger's going to be on the top of that a lot. And you can see I've done some work with it, because I took this in the vehicle last night when we were heading to an event, and I sat there and spun. It works beautifully in the vehicle. I put this thing right into my seat, right in my lap, and spun away, and tried not to hit my husband as I'm stretching the yarn. I literally was between the seats doing this. But it worked, and, that's gratifying. That is so cool. I keep on telling you guys, just go create something. Just go do the thing. Go figure it out. Because if you want something, you're going to figure it out. Now, you can even tell this is not centered on the right. In fact, if I dialed everything into the off centers, I might actually get a center and a really good dialed in spindle. I don't know. But anyway, so then we started in with the clay, and I think I can actually show you more of that. This is the bake kind of clay, and apparently, I really don't know what I'm doing, guys. I feel this is not a tutorial. This is possibly what to avoid. I don't know. And it doesn't cure until it's heated. There is the air dry too. I figured that its work time would be drastically less and its storage even less. So, if you're wondering why these colors, because I like these colors. Now, one of the things that I learned is you have to condition sculpting clay. In other words, you have to work it a little bit to get the ingredients mixed back into itself. Apparently they separate. And don't ask me how. I will find out, apparently. I'm probably going to say apparently a lot. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's pretty. Alright. So I grabbed some of my leather working tools. And of course an X-Acto knife is a major key player. Alright, so what I want to do is just cut off chunks. I'm probably going to actually go back real quick and look at that Julie and Eve video that I saw. Because she actually gave a weight to the whirl to try to reach. I don't think that's enough. Probably it would have been kind of cool if I'd went ahead and grabbed some white, but I don't think I'm going to. This is still experimental stage anyway, so I'm just going to double up what I have here. And I probably would be a smart idea to go find out, because she had a number of grams that was. Of course, I don't think she counted the wood she was putting in it, or even putting, if I don't remember correctly, she didn't even put wood in it, so. Alright, so I'm going to take each color. This is just what I saw in the video. For those of you that might be out there watching, first of all, I know this stuff collects lint like it's nobody's business. I'm not worrying about that right now. So my practices for keeping things clean and lint-free are probably less than stellar. Actually, I know they are. I'm not looking to go into polymer clay art, even though it does intrigue me. But it has its place, and if I understand the basics enough, at least I can use it when I need it, which is what we're doing today. It's just trying to use it when I need it. Okay, I can tell you right now that you can tell the difference in the feel of the clay when it has been worked and, let's say, remixed versus when you first start with it. So there is that thing. Trying to create a very aesthetically pleasing swirl. I went and got these two glass plates. These are used for basically varnishing adhesives in bookmaking. That's their actual purpose. But they have a nice edge to them. Now, most people use stamp blanks. They're just an acrylic with a grid on them, but I don't have any. So these have weight to them as well, so that worked out beautifully. So basically, I just took my ball of polymer and smashed the polymer to the right width. I think I also used my arbor press to get an even smash, but you can kind of tell in the circle of where your smash is that you can do that. And then I just use my fingers. And I think, because this is the tabletop version of the polymer disc, and on this one, yeah, I actually used a false egg because I have them, but you could use anything or a really, really hard shelled egg and a lot of luck. I don't know. But you can just use your fingers. The point being something that's indenting kind of evenly, because as things spin, you don't want it to hit edges. So that's because I also knew at that point that because this is what I did originally for this one, and then just use my finger around it, was just a little nickel thing. And then I knew that from just seeing those other supported spindles that having a small indentation completely in the center was probably going to be a plus, and it was. So yeah, use what you got. You could use, like I said, I had that acrylic ruler that I was using, but once I realized that it would be easier to do this, I just went ahead and grabbed them. And then I'm gonna make a quick little bowl to use to keep this in. And then I'm gonna bake these off at the same time. And then I'll build my other support piece afterwards, because I think that's kind of a plus at this point, not just necessarily the thing I need the most. But what I do know is that that's how much made this. So I went basically with double, and I'm gonna make a little bowl. So anyway, that's what's up. Okay, quick update. One, I put a hole and shaved off the top end of my support. There's the other piece. Figured out that this probably isn't going to be as useful as I thought unless I'm able to drill a hole for my other dowel rod, which would be kind of cool to have that in there. I just don't know how I would stabilize it to drill it. As you've already seen, that didn't work. So, just saying. And then, so my little dish that I had, it's actually working, but turns out that you cannot push a hole into, so here's my my whirl. And because this wasn't actually done, which told me my dish wasn't actually done because the dish is thicker. Now to drill into it, it's possible, so I'm going to test that on this piece. But I got to make another one. So that's okay. That's why I have the clay. This is an experiment. But so far, this is actually a thing. Okay, quick update. You hear that? It's actually hard. It doesn't appear I have any cracks in it. This one turned out, no. This was after probably 30 minutes of baking. But given, okay, so here's the thing. What I've learned also, the packages literally say 275 degrees per quarter inch. Now, I don't know what that means. Whether that has anything to do with the lines on here or not, I don't know. But it does tell me that it needed more than I gave it at first. So, and that's 15 minutes per 1/4 inch. So here's our little dish. Okay, so without the extra weight of this, the piece that I broke, and it's in the oven right now, by the way. So if I'm just sitting here like this, you can hear it. And I'm going to resin this, by the way, because I like a good finish. Not horrible. I think it'll be better when it has a little bit more weight on it. And the next one I also made a little bit smaller than this. It's just a little over this size. So now I do an example of actually spinning on it, but I don't know how to do that yet. I've still got to figure that part out. But I am getting a spin. No matter which way I go, I'm getting a spin. And it sits there and spins in my hand, okay? So if you lean it over, it has a much steadier spin. This has got a pretty... And I also added a little bit of beeswax to the tip. Just kind of reduces friction, and anyway. I don't know. So a decent flick like that. Well, we're working on it as we go. So let's see how the rest turn out. Okay, so I decided that the glue was dry enough on this. There was a couple of gaps in the way that this was manufactured. I have a feeling that these two pieces are two different things. And I'm probably, before I finish this out, I'm going to run a little bit of glue around those edges as well. And then wax it, just so it matches. Because this turned out not bad. I mean, granted, if I was after prototyping, I may actually take different stains to pieces and then turn around and wax them. We'll see. We're not there yet. But anyway. All right. So we put the punch to this thing. This is the it's going to have to be sanded a little bit. This is the whirl. I used this. Okay, that's equivalent. See, I'm still trying to figure out whether or not the clay shrinks or anything. And I had already pre-punched this, but it did not break away before. So now I'm wondering. It's not moving either, so I'm also wondering whether it's done. I may have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to drill it out. But it's not bad. Actually, I might just use that little bit. So there's just a tad of remnants from where the punch comes into a sharpness. Do I want to do it this way? Because I do need to sand it a little bit. Which side do I want up? Because it could easily get stuck on there. Well, it's snug. Which is pretty much what I want. Alright. We're just going to go with it. Okay. Huh? What do you think? Basically, we have all the elements here. Minus being resined. It works. I think I have a working model, y'all. Minus it being resined. And it's not that tight, so okay. I do think I would like to. You'd think that I could just. I don't know how breakable this stuff is, because that was not great. I would like to put a little sandpaper to this, though. It's a little rougher than I would like to. I'm going to find me some fine grit sandpaper and just touch it up just a little bit, and then I'm going to resin it. Now both sides, basically I started both of them with the glass on both sides. The glass on both sides, the other one's actually got thing in the oven right now. So that way it had a nice finished surface. Not heavy. I mean, you saw what it did. Okay, so let's look at this. Whoops, there we go. Okay. I don't know that it matters what side to put it in. What I'm afraid of is I'm afraid of doing this a bunch. But maybe not. I don't know. The weight matters. Now to actually learn how to spin like this, because I have no clue. Well, I mean, I have a clue. I've watched enough videos, but not having actually done it with my own hands. Because I didn't have anything to do it on. Okay, so I think resin is next. I might wait till the other one is done, so that way I can do them all. I'm going to use UV-resin. So, and that's the piece that goes on top of here. And I've already... So basically it's very much like this. It would look tremendously like this. It just overlaps a tad on each side. So then you put that in your lap and you spin on it. Anyway, I'm going to wait for that. It's got probably another 20 minutes. Don't worry, you're not going to have to wait for that. And, well, there's my spindle. Needs some sanding though. All right. So, okay, back again. All right, so my spindle is sanded. It's not perfect, but it'll be fine. My little tabletop bowl, and I'm about ready to UV epoxy. I've got a silicone mat here, silicone stir stick. I'm just going to sit here and get a coating on them, and then I've got a UV light here, so I'm just going to resin these, and then I'll resin the other one when it comes out later on. So I've got a little ways to go. Next steps. Okay, y'all, it's the next day. I had some issues with my UV resin. I think it's actually kind of old, but it worked. It just took a way longer to cure. So if you should happen to do this, which honestly, if you're into this kind of thing, why not? All this stuff is literally stuff from Hobby Lobby, any craft store that has the wood thingies, you know, little pieces and parts, and get creative. All right, so I'll show you that in a sec. I think it's kind of cool. And I kind of cheated. It kind of runs like a flat tire, but it runs. It does tell me that balance is everything with these things. But check it out. It works. Now, and it did take me a bit. I had to cheat, and I created a leader on my drop spindle because I've done this before. I knew what I needed to do there, or at least had a stinking good... There's 1,000 ways to do that stuff, guys. This stuff has been around longer than we have been a concept. So, well, not concept, because God created everything first. Anyway, but check it out, though. I mean, it kind of runs like a flat tire, but it's not bad. And for what I know now, the difference is that this has got to be 100% centered. And you can tell that it's not 100%, but it's definitely concept worthy. Okay, so yeah, and so then I started spinning with it, and once I realized how to get that spin up through the thread, so I'm going to take you over here. I'm going to show you how this all works. So this is the tabletop model, which, I mean, that's great when I have one, but anyway, so just a minute. All right, so I just have a little bit left on here. And I already told y'all I am not efficient with these, but it works. It's definitely a game of park and draft. Well, I think suspended spindle is a game of park and draft, to be honest. And they just happen to get a lot faster at it. But I'm gonna let that go in because the whole point is to have a platform when you sit relaxed, to sit and spin and not be. And see how crooked that is, and it still works. In other words, I'm sitting very crooked. So if I was just sitting relaxed, my feet kind of, a person can spin. I'm not going to show you how badly I spin yet. Well, I kind of cheated, I'm sorry, but I wanted to see if I could do it. Anyway, so that's what we made today, is a supported spindle out of Hobby Lobby doodads. Everything here minus the wool is Hobby Lobby. Now, and theoretically, you could go over to the felting department and get the roving, the good roving for felting. That stuff is still in a decent staple length, and be able to do pieces in different colors. Anyway, just a package of different colors of roving, which is pretty much straight up merino, and have something to play with. So, yep, that's how it is. And it just sits there. So, that's what we made today, is a supported spindle, all out of Hobby Lobby stuff. A little bit of a flat tire going on here. And honestly, I think, but because, here's a cool thing. I can change the spindle out because none of this is glued together. It literally is the 1/4-inch bit, so it really fits tight. It's just a sharpened end, a not as sharpened end. I quickly figured out that needed to be blunted. And a little bit of cured polymer. And you could get whatever cool colors. Another one I think I want to mess with is doing some resin with some, UV-resin with the flowers and stones and stuff. Because really what you're doing is creating a circular weight that will spin, to make this thing spin longer and better. That's really what you're doing. So anyway, like I always tell you, please, go create something. It feels good. And it may not work the best the first time. But usually when you do kind of things like this, you have spare parts and you can do it a second. So go create something. Take care, y'all. Have a blessed one.